this is pronounced it wrong, and I hate Georgia because first off, Athens is a shitty city. Like, everyone would rather go to college somewhere that doesn't smell like dog shit all the time. Second, Georgia's entire existence is to lose so other teams can win championships. It's why they haven't won one since before I was even born. Like, even during the Muschamp and McElwain era, like, we'd have mediocre teams who'd go 4-8, but we'd still every other year beat the ever-living shit out of them with a mediocre team. Fuck Georgia, go Gators.
Welcome, friends and neighbors, to our Florida Gator subreddit podcast. This is Topher Gator. I am joined by Zlatan Diego. How's it going, dude?
I'm just ready to hate on Georgia.
Hell yes. And the Hammer Suit. What's up, homie?
Super excited to hate on Georgia today as well.
I think we all are. I posted earlier this week on the Discord that we've been sort of stewing in this for like an entire year at this point. And for me, like, I've been thinking about this game since this time last year. And I'm just excited. I'm excited for this wait to be over. I'm excited for this game to be here.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably my most anticipated game of the year. Like, I don't know if it's if it's not known or well known, but UGA is my least favorite, team in college football. Like, I actually hate them, despise them more than FSU.
Georgia is the Trent Whitmore of teams for Hammer. For anybody who else needs a little comparison there.
It's the Brett Favre of teams that he hates.
Yeah, fuck that guy. No, it's just like I cannot stand them, and it's weird, and I don't know why, because I don't have any like history with the school. It's just for whatever reason I cannot stand UGA, and I put this on my calendar every year. It's probably my most anticipated game. And I truly believe that we have a chance to actually win this game. Like last year, I was like, oh, we might have a chance. I think this time, I believe we actually have a very solid, I would give us a majority, like 60-40, you know what I mean? Whereas like last year, it was probably like 40-60, we might win, right?
Isn't that amazing that we can be in that position where you can even come close to that, where analysts, actually big name analysts, are taking Florida to win this game? Who would have guessed that at the beginning of the year?
This game, the landscape surrounding this game has shifted pretty quickly, it feels like.
Yeah, it's good and bad. I almost wonder, do you want to be in the position where you're the underdog? I mean, we're just giving Georgia a little more bulletin board material. They're not going to come into this game and take it lightly, and maybe they wouldn't have anyways. But yeah, I mean, this is where we want to be. We want to be the team that can beat anybody. So here we are. It's our chance to show it. Are we going to show up and show out, or are we going to pull a Notre Dame?
I mean, it's Kirby Smart. He's going to prep his guys to play against Georgia probably harder than any other team he'll face in his career. Like, he just has an absolute hate boner for us.
Is his haircut just as bad in person as it appears on television?
I'm sure it is.
That was a diplomatic answer.
You're going to have to ask all the children that he hangs around what his haircut looks like.
Oh, brother. Okay, so as far as a preview of this game, have you guys done any film study? Is there anything that sticks out to you of what we should expect?
Yeah, I did a lot of research, actually. So I found it very surprising when I went and looked up last year's UGA offensive performance versus this year's. Because, like, if you just based off the eye test, they don't seem to be as structured and as smooth as we've experienced in the past. Would you guys agree?
For sure.
There's something just off with their offense. But I actually looked it up. Their offense is averaging more passing yards, rushing yards, and points per game this year than they were last year. But the big difference, I think it's probably why, Jim Chaney, because if you go look at Tennessee's offense, they've improved since he's become the offensive coordinator there. Their penalties have gone up for Georgia. They're averaging almost 8 penalties a game on offense and defense right now, which last year they were only averaging 3.6, which is a big deal to me. Like, I'm like that's something that you just like immediately see and you go, oh wow, like that's why they're not playing at a high level, and because like Jake Fromm is on pace to have his best statistical season. DeAndre Swift is doing great. But last year they had 2,000-yard rushers, whereas this year it looks like they're only giving the ball to Swift. And so it's very interesting seeing the change of philosophy with offensive coordinators. And I feel like Coley has a high-performing offense, but they're not organized or disciplined like Chaney's was last year.
Yeah, I would agree. It is weird how watching them, it seems like they're significantly worse on offense than they were last year. But like you said, I mean, the numbers still really like them. I know S&P Plus likes them significantly more than us. So it's tough to know what to make of that. What they have put on tape versus what all of the numbers indicate.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a weird situation too. Right now, and I don't even remember what they're ranked in the AP poll, but we're ranked ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're 8th.
Yeah, so what are we, 6th? They're 8th?
Yeah, I think we're 6th.
And yeah, so I think we've been ahead of them for a little bit. And I think the Reddit CFB poll, whatever the Max Div poll or the People's poll, whatever the hell that thing is, we're ranked ahead of Georgia there too. So we're ranked ahead of them. And I think we've earned that. I don't think there's any question. Yet we're still the underdog here. It has me wondering, is that based on prior history? Is that based on people thinking, oh, this team's way more talented than Florida? Maybe a combination of those two things. It's an interesting thing, especially in this kind of neutral site game where they'd have that much of an advantage. And this isn't like a 1 or 2 point spread. I mean, 4.5 isn't huge. It was 4.5 points now.
I'm just looking up right now.
It was at 1 point, and it's not a huge spread, but I mean, it's a decent chunk, especially for a team that hasn't really shown out, hasn't beaten anybody impressive, hasn't really played any tough games outside of Notre Dame, right? And they lost to South Carolina, who's kind of crap. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat that or anything. So it's a unique situation, and right now, even though everybody or a lot of people are picking Florida or at least believing in Florida, this is really a put up or shut up moment. I think there's a chance this is one of Mullen's biggest defining moments here. Easily the biggest of the season.
Yeah. According to Vegas Insider, it's still at 6.5. It opened at 6.5, and it's still at 6.5. I thought it had
yeah.
Well.
I guess I had the wrong one in my head. I saw 3.5 or 4.5 somewhere. So yeah, 6.5 points, and that's, I think before the game, I probably had it pegged at somewhere between a 3.5 to 6.5 point spread. That's what I expected. I mean, I thought they'd predict a win by a score, and that's exactly what they're doing. Apparently, it hasn't changed, and I mean it's a good size spread for a team that's supposedly the underdog on paper for the poll rankings. So it'll be interesting to see. They haven't really played great competition, but I don't think people should be taking that lightly. They have some incredible numbers still. I think we've already gotten into this, but their yards per play number are fantastic. The numbers there are fantastic. Their defense, outstanding. I think I looked it up. I think they're 3rd overall in yards per play allowed on the pass defense, just yards per pass attempt. 3rd overall. Mm-hmm. You don't get to that without being extremely good. That's ahead of Clemson, and their schedule is absolute garbage. And we know they have a great defense. So I mean, this isn't fake. They're not just coming up with these fake numbers based on having good talent and garbage schedule. They're playing well. So I don't think people need to take that lightly.
Yeah, I just don't think they're playing at the level we may have expected them to.
Sure.
Like I think because they were probably easily one of the favorites to make it to the playoffs before the season started. And with all the talent that Kirby has, essentially just hoarded onto this team, on paper they should be favored in every matchup, in my opinion. Like I think that they have maybe Alabama's the only team that has like a slightly higher blue chip percentage than they do. Like
here's a question for both of you then. Would either of you put Georgia as a playoff team still? Like, I'm not talking right this second. I'm saying as a team that could and maybe probably would make the playoffs.
If they went out the rest of their schedule, yeah.
Well, obviously they would, but I'm saying, do you think they're going to do that? Do you think they're capable of that, or more than just like capable, like actually in a position where you think they'll do that?
If we don't beat them, which I'm gonna be 100% honest, I'm pretty confident we're going to. I think it's gonna be a close game, but they still have to go through Auburn. They still have to go through Texas A&M, and then either LSU or Alabama. And I really don't see them winning all three of those games, even if they beat us.
Yeah. Full disclosure, they were one of my 4 playoff teams at the beginning of the season. And right now I would say no. It obviously this game is a hinge point. This game is really a hinge point in the entire season in the national college football landscape, much more immediately than I thought it would have been. Which that's exciting. That's exciting that we're involved in a game like this. But yeah, I don't see it right now from them.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, this game is going to make a season and break a season for whichever team loses. Like, if Georgia loses, no playoff. If Florida loses, no playoff. Like it's, that's the big deal. Like, yeah, because like maybe either of them could sneak in if they win out, make it to the championship game, and beat Alabama or LSU, maybe. But I don't know. It's just like this is a big deal. Like this game is a massive game. It's 2 top 10 teams. It's the first time in a long time both teams have been ranked in the top 10 that I can remember. I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to it. I mean, it's just one of those games where it's like we matched up really well against them, but it's gonna be, does our lack of talent and depth bite us in the ass like it did against LSU?
What worries me about the general trajectory of this game of Georgia is that it feels somewhat similar, not exactly the same, but somewhat similar to last year where they lost to LSU, I think 2 weeks before this game. And that was like the wake up call for them. That snapped them to attention, and they made adjustments based on that loss. And there were a lot of things that we had seen before they lost that game that were exploitable that they then corrected. And I'm worried that it might be a similar situation this year where that loss to South Carolina and then the sloppy game against Kentucky in, the torrential monsoon, that is going to be, the impetus that they need to make changes to maybe change some of the things that they're doing on offense. And, this is the wake-up call. The classic wake-up call teams for me were always Urban Meyer teams. Like, they would lose a game, and then it's like from that point forward, they were a different team for the rest of the season.
Urban wanted those losses almost.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Yeah, and so I'm worried that we might be seeing a similar trend emerge with Georgia.
Yeah, they've the past 2 years, I think they've done something similar, right? I mean, 2 years ago they lost to Auburn. And I can't remember if that was close or if it was a decent loss, but they came back and kicked Auburn's ass in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, all up and down the field.
Yeah, and then last year the LSU game, they got their butts whooped in Death Valley, not an easy place to play. And then they showed out against us, and I can't remember, did they have a game between that and us last year, or was that just LSU bye week this game?
Yeah, that went right into bye week for them.
That's kind of a small difference there, and maybe a big difference too. One thing that I really expected was I felt bad for Kentucky. I thought Georgia was going to come out and just take out all of their pent up rage on this team. They were going to come out and show everybody in the country, hey, we're fucking Georgia. We are a playoff team. And they were going to take that out on poor little Kentucky because, I mean, Kentucky, they're a good team right now, but they still have the capability of getting their ass kicked and getting blown out by a really good team.
Yeah, they're playing a wide receiver at quarterback.
Exactly. And, I mean, they only have so much depth. They lost a ton of guys last year in defense. They could have gotten blown out easily. And a Nick Saban team would have beaten them by 50 right there in that position. So it has me, I guess, curious might be the best word. It just has me interested and curious how they really are going to respond. Did they fix anything? We don't know how much the torrential downpour affected that game. their game plan. Maybe Georgia could have come out and whooped ass that way. But I feel a lot better about this, seeing them not just go destroy Kentucky than I would have otherwise.
Well, I mean, and Georgia, like, they replaced both coordinators, and they both don't have as much experience and as much, I don't know, credibility as Chaney and Tucker did, and that's another thing that too is like with Georgia is like that's probably why they don't look as good as we would expect them to, because they don't have those guys controlling those sections of the team at the high level the previous two were. And like I know everyone thought Jim Chaney was terrible, but like Jim Chaney has massively improved Tennessee's offense since it's been there. Like you go look at the stats, like they're a little bit more disciplined, they're running more. So like he's a good offensive coordinator. Mel Tucker, I'm really excited about what he's doing at Colorado. I think I'm glad he's over there, And so those are two key guys. That'd be equivalent to Dan Mullen losing Todd Grantham and John Hevesy in like one off season. You know what I mean? Like you don't replace that immediately. Yeah, people can step up, right? But you're still going to have a drop off in overall team performance. And that's going to show like Kirby is going to have to prove, is he really this good of a coach, or was it his coordinators carrying him for the first couple of years?
Kirby Smart. He's done a good job against Dan Mullen in his career. When he was at Alabama, he did well. I think he shut down that offense pretty well. And I was on vacation this week, so I haven't pulled up all the numbers. But I remember last year looking at it and realizing, oh man, Mullen's kind of struggled. Kirby's done a good job of handling what Mullen has thrown at him with that whole rushing quarterback.
7-0, I think.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think I guess when Mullen was at Florida, they split the difference 1-1. I think Kirby was there then.
Right.
And I don't have the offensive numbers how Mullen has done against him, but I'm pretty sure he's done a good job, enough to win a lot of those games. So the question is, how much has Mullen's offense changed here? Does that throw a huge wrench into things for Kirby? He's been able to handle Mullen with this rushing quarterback, with this huge rushing threat where he's going to pound the guy up the middle. We're not doing that with Trask, at least not as much as Mullen would like to. He'd love to just throw him out every play. He still does it a little bit. But does that change things in a huge way, having Kyle Trask compared to a rushing quarterback, in regards to just how Kirby Smart, without his prior defensive coordinator, how he handles that?
I mean, I think so. I mean, we're a passing team with Kyle Trask right now. I mean, he's doing a great job opening up the field. We got multiple wide receivers who are capable of dominating the game. So we're a passing team. We're not the typical Dan Mullen power spread, that you were talking about. Like if Emory Jones was the quarterback, then yeah, we probably would be the typical Dan Mullen offense. But this is more of a passing heavy. Like I don't want to say it's like a Pac-12 type offense. It's not, but it's like as close as you're going to see to that in the SEC right now, because I think besides Alabama, we probably have the deepest group of wide receivers. That we're capable of spreading it 5 wide, and everyone's capable of making a play. So it's like I think it's a different offense, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how Kirby is able to game plan against an offense that he probably hasn't experienced from Dan Mullen previously.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup because of that. It's like I don't want to say that you take that 7-0 and throw it out the window, or whatever it is, 6-0, whatever the record during Mullen's time as a head coach against Kirby is, but it is like a completely different matchup. It's a completely different type of team than Mullen has ever really had. And I think this is by far a more talented and more experienced team than he ever had at Mississippi State.
It's something where I guess my main point is I'm thinking we have to almost throw out everything. Throw out Mullen and Kirby, their matchups in prior years. Throw that out the window, because this is just a completely different matchup than what they've had before. Even last year probably would have been a similar scenario, because Mississippi State versus Alabama, not even close in talent. And honestly, Florida and Georgia, pretty far in talent, but way closer than what Mullen has had to work with before. Just like you said, Topher. and we were in Mullen's first year of his system, transitioning systems both on offense and defense, working with a lot of players that were under prior staff. So that's transition year. That's huge, and it's a big effect on trying to show up well. And I think Kirby had that his first year against us. He lost that game against Jim McElwain, which is mind-boggling. I don't know how you lose to Jim McElwain, but Kirby found a way to do it. But probably being in his first year had a huge impact. And I think Mullen had the same deal last year. So this, as has been said on this podcast already, and as will be said many times going forward, this is a defining moment right here. This is probably going to define the series going forward. If Georgia comes out and just beats Florida down and beats us by 2 scores, 3 scores, whatever, runs the ball all over us, has no issues stopping our offense, that might be something we need to learn to expect going forward, that we need to prep ourselves for. If we show out and have this right in the last second, I mean, that's where we're going to be from here on out in my mind.
I mean, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. And so this is sort of like, I thought that this was going to be Georgia's year. Like, this is the year where things are aligned for them on their roster pretty well. And so, you know, maybe our roster is going to take a dip after this year a little bit, but I don't know that Georgia is going to have the same alignment of talented, experienced quarterback along with what's still a pretty good and really, really, really talented defense for the next couple of years. So I don't know. Even if we were to lose here, I don't necessarily know if that defines what I expect for this matchup next year as much as I thought I would have at this point, if that makes any sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Hammer, where do you think Jake Fromm, what do you think his lowest possible place he's going to be drafted is? It's just kind of a guess off of what he's done so far. Any chance he falls out of the first round?
Yeah.
How
far?
I
don't have him a first round.
Think third, fifth round, something like that, or do you think?
I think worst case scenario he goes in the fifth. Best case scenario he's a late second.
Okay, so how often? This might actually be a stupid question now that I'm thinking about it, but I mean, how often does Georgia have a quarterback that can do that can play this well, that can be pretty much a guaranteed second, third, fourth rounder, somewhere in that range, in all likelihood, to where almost a first rounder in some mocks, but maybe not that far up. Maybe Kirby's wasting that, like you said, Topher. I mean, it is surprising how slow they've been. I really thought they were going to make a playoff run, and I was just hoping that since Saban was still here, and maybe that we could pull out the game, that they'd find a way to screw it up, because they have an outstanding defense. They have one of the best offensive lines in the country, if not the best offensive line in the country. They have one of the top running backs in the country. They have a team that's just has standouts everywhere. So I'm surprised that they've struggled in games.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to discipline. Like I said, they're averaging almost 8 penalties a game right now, whereas last year they averaged, I think it was at 3.6 is what I said.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge. Like, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but in actuality, like, if you have 4 holds extra a game, that's 40 more yards at the bare minimum that you have to make up to try to score a point. And, you know, it's not like their offense is amazing. Georgia's never had an amazing offense. It's always been solid. Fromm is an accurate passer. He reads defenses well. DeAndre Swift is probably one of the top running back prospects in the draft. Like, he's an elite running back. They got a great offensive line, but their scheme has never been, like average 40-plus points a game. They've always been control the clock, move the ball, win the line of scrimmage, and let's win it's almost like they're very conservative, right?
It's early Saban era Alabama.
Yeah. And you can be conservative as long as you don't commit penalties. And the problem is they're committing too many penalties now. It can't be conservative. So then they have to go aggressive. And then that's not their offense. Their offense isn't built for that.
Yeah, that's their weakness. That's their weakness too, is their receiver core this year. And that prevents what you're able to do
Yeah, they had so many people leave for the draft. They blew my mind. I was like, these guys shouldn't be leaving. Like, what the fuck? Like, who was it that left? That was a big deal to me because I was like, there's no way this guy should be leaving.
The tight end? What's it? Nada?
No,
Isaac Nada?
Nada probably should have gone. He's a big body and they want those guys in the NFL. But I'm pretty sure it was like.
Did he end up? Did Nada get drafted? Did he go in the
seventh round? Yep.
Yeah, which sucks for him.
they had Hardman go, I think, in the second round.
Yeah, Terry Godwin.
Terry
Godwin should not. Well, he's a senior. Never mind, I lied.
What an idiot!
Fuck that guy. Okay. Anyway, what I'm trying to say though is like they don't have that guy. They don't have top guys at a wide receiver, and it's really difficult for Fromm to move the ball at a consistent level if he doesn't have guys getting open. You know.
Are we going to play press coverage? Are we going to play man on these guys? Are we going to play close to the line? Are we going to take advantage?
Should we? Yes. Will we? Will we? No.
Yeah. I did not ask should we. We should have against
will
LSU.
We? No,
everybody saw that.
We will rotate Steiner in. We will do stupid ass shit that makes me question why I like Grantham as a defensive coordinator.
We will begin playing prevent at some point in the mid-second quarter.
It's okay. This is really a point where it's going to be make or break for me, in my opinion, of Grantham, and honestly a little bit of Mullen too, because at the end of the day, he's the head coach, so he's the one that has the final decision on all this stuff.
Yeah,
it was obvious to everybody in the country you don't do that against LSU. The way to beat them is to play man on those guys. I mean, or to play up, to not just let him take his first read. To watch Burrow, and we just didn't do that. We just played in these stupid little zones, and we let them just march on the field again and again and again on us. And we didn't take advantage of our best features, our two cornerbacks who are just absolute studs in men coverage. And it scares me that we're going to do the same this week because it makes just as much sense, if not more, to do it. But I mean, it made sense against LSU. We didn't do it. Auburn did it last week, and look at that. They had a game where they almost won. Yep. It's the difference between us having an elite defense, which I had expected this year. I thought we were going to be borderline elite, and us having a very just a good, maybe mediocre defense, which is what we have right now.
Well, Grantham even publicly stated that he didn't expect LSU to do what they did, and like he straight up said, he was like, "Yeah, I got slapped in the face, and I wasn't prepared for that at all." So it makes me think that he understands, you know, like you have to like we clearly needed to run a very specific defense against LSU. And it did not help though that Grenard and Zuniga were both out. Like that was obviously a big deal because if you don't have a pass rush threat, you can play press man as long as you want. Someone's eventually going to get open, right? With Georgia, they have a very specific one-dimensional offense, run the ball down your throat. So we probably need to maximize that and play press coverage on the boundary receivers so they don't do play action and get open. Like that's defense 101. I'm hoping that Grantham realizes that and uses this isn't about guys playing anymore. This is about winning.
Yeah,
I'm cool with Steiner and Taylor and these other meh guys rotating in against Towson, against Vanderbilt maybe. This game is about winning, so you need to play your best fucking players the whole goddamn game.
You play to win the game.
You play to win the game.
Yeah, this isn't about, I want to give everyone equal playing time because that's the Florida Gators standard. Fuck that shit. Play your fucking best players.
Yeah.
So we don't fucking lose this game.
Completely agree. So, on defense, the key is to be able to, if not shut down, at least slow down their running game. Can we do that? Do we expect Grenard and Zuniga to be healthy enough to do that? And is it something that we're capable of?
I think we are capable, and I hesitate to just say we should expect it because I mean I just prepare for the worst at all these things. I'm still waiting for some kind of stupid suspensions to be announced. It's just the Florida way, and that's what happens. And I just cannot go into one of these games expecting, we're going to play at full health. I just can't. But from all accounts, and not just the practice, like the Mullen accounts and what they're saying in these interviews, but from behind the scenes accounts too. These guys are going to be at least 80-90%, and they should be able to go most of the game. They might rotate a little bit more than they would otherwise, but they should be going. They should be going strong. So, from what I gather, if we get beaten up on the defensive line, I don't think we can blame injuries on this one. I think that's just going to be blamed getting beat by a better offensive line and just not having enough talent.
We have enough talent on the defensive line. Like I think our blue chip ratio is high on the defensive line. If Grenard and Zuniga are back, that's going to open up Miller to be able to, because Miller's actually a pretty decent intermediary pass rusher from the linebacker position. But like, it's going to come down to, can our defensive tackles win in the interior, and we're going to have to prevent from getting first downs with his legs, because he does that. It just pains me when our defensive line gets into the backfield and then the quarterback just takes one tiny step to the left and takes it off for another 15 yards. Like, I don't know. But like, I think we match up really well, the front seven versus their offensive line. I think we match up really, really well, especially with Grenard and Zuniga back. The biggest thing is going to be, can we stop DeAndre Swift? Because he's going to get open. He's going to get out past the line of scrimmage. Like, you're not gonna be able to shut him down, right? He's a Leonard Fournette type running back where he's going to make plays. You have to limit how many he's going to do, but he's going to make some. And we just got to make sure that they don't change their offense to being pass happy, because if Grantham's not prepared for that, I'm not convinced he's ready to make adjustments, because he did for LSU.
Yeah. So, other side of the ball, what are our keys for victory? What do we need to do on offense?
Throw on them.
Yeah.
That's what it comes. I mean, their weakest part of their defense, and I hesitate to even call it weak, but it's their run defense. I think somewhere around 20th. They're actually behind LSU and Auburn in just rush yards allowed per play. Pass defense, way stronger than pretty much everybody, but they have not. This is a case where their opponents are actually very telling. And I'm going to pull up their opponents right now just to make sure I have it right. But Notre Dame, I think, is the best passing offense that they've played so far. They've played absolute garbage passing attacks. So they haven't seen anybody like Trask. They haven't seen anybody like our receivers. Yeah, so here it goes. Vanderbilt, which might be the worst team in the SEC, right up there. Murray State, Arkansas State, both trash. Notre Dame is just, they don't throw the ball very well at all. They're kind of a trash team anyways. Tennessee, trash. South Carolina, trash. I mean, they're just not a good team. Kentucky, they're playing a wide receiver as their quarterback, hence 0 points. And he played in the rain too. They cannot, nobody was able to throw the ball. We should be able to throw it. So winning this game comes down to Kyle Trask making throws, our receivers getting open, testing the depth of those Georgia cornerbacks. Maybe their top one guys, maybe their top two guys are good, but how good are the third and fourth guys when they're covering? They have to cover Van Jefferson, Tyree Cleveland, Trevon Grimes, maybe Kadarius Toney, and Kyle Pitts in there. I mean, he's a huge weapon.
Yeah. Well, Campbell's out. Tyson Campbell.
I think he got cleared to play, actually.
Yeah, I saw today Campbell and then that wide receiver that I thought was out. They're both supposedly cleared. We'll see if they actually play. This, right. I mean, this looks like a lot of gamesmanship. I mean, I'm not even convinced we see Toney, but yeah, Campbell is probably. I mean, isn't he their worst cover corner anyways? I thought he's
still like, he gives them another person to put out there. That's not terrible, No, I think we see Toney. I don't know if we're going to see 100 yards from scrimmage Toney, but I think we're going to see him maybe used as a decoy. He might get a couple handoffs, I think, if he does play, or maybe like a quick screen pass or whatever to kind of get him back in the swing of things. It's just to make the defense have to game plan for him, because it's almost impossible to cover an offense if you have Pitts, Jefferson, Grimes, and Toney, and possibly Hammond or Swain out there. Like, that's who are you going to match up with? Like someone is going to be a mismatch, right? And most people can't keep up with Toney, so I feel like we'll see him. I don't know if we'll see him play more than maybe 15, 20% of the snaps. You know what I mean? But I still think we're going to see him a lot. We have to spread the ball out. We have to run the ball. I think Pierce and P. Ryan are both going to have fantastic games where they're going to split the carries. But that's for us to win. Is we're gonna have to play the best game that we've played since Dan Mullen has been our coach. It's gonna have to be the best game.
I think this might be the biggest mismatch in the game in our favor is our wide receivers against their defensive backs, because while this sort of goes hand in hand with what Zlat was talking about how they haven't played good quarterbacks. I mean, they haven't played good receivers. They haven't seen anything like what we have at receiver so far this year. And while we haven't seen a defensive backfield as talented as theirs, I think that a lot of what they like to do on defense is going to be similar to what Tennessee wants to do on defense. Now, Pruitt's team isn't there yet, but coverage-wise, I think they run a lot of similar schemes. They want to confuse the quarterback. They want to disguise their coverage. And, I mean, we shredded that shit against Tennessee. It was like a hot knife through a dog turd.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge factor in our favor. And I think this is where you were about to go before I accidentally cut you off there, Hammer. My bad. I mean, LSU, they are a similarly talented defensive backfield. I don't necessarily think that Aranda is as sharp of a defensive mind when it comes to pass coverage as Kirby is. I think Kirby is one of the best when it comes to pass coverage. But yeah, I mean, we've played some really legit defensive backfields and some really, really legit defensive minds, and they haven't faced anything like what we're going to do with our receivers.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I was going to say, I think LSU's got I don't know if they're experienced enough, but an extremely talented secondary.
Yeah, for sure.
And Trask pulled 370-plus yard drives in that game. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think Georgia, I think it's a great matchup. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because like we said this earlier, probably like 20 minutes ago, if we don't win, is that what we should expect? And I'm going to be honest, I think, yeah, if we don't win, because this is the most talented team Florida's going to have when it comes to just pure talent and experience, probably for the next couple of years, at the least. Right?
Yeah.
And if we can't win against a UGA team that right now doesn't look as good as their record indicates, in my opinion, right? If we can't beat the worst team that Smart has had since he's been after his first season, right? Are we ever going to beat them? Because they out-recruit us like crazy. So, it's going to be you have to be able to take your victories when you can. And I feel like Dan Mullen is a fantastic, X's and O's. He's really good at putting together offenses and defenses that maximize the players. The schemes work really well. So he doesn't necessarily need to have Georgia equivalent type talent to win. The problem is when you go up against teams who out-recruit you, you have to strike and you have to not make mistakes. That's why we lost against LSU, is because we were just making mistakes. We weren't game planning properly. We don't have the depth necessary to compete against a team that had 6 out of the last 8 top 5 classes, right? That's when depth comes into play. And when UGA can rotate their first string corner out and bring in their third string corner, and this guy was also a 5-star blue chip. Maybe he doesn't have as much experience, but talent-wise, he should be able to compete for 2-3 snaps before the first guy comes back in because you need to take a quick break, right? And that's my concern, is if we can't win now, it's going to be very difficult for us to win in the next couple of years at least.
And I want to clarify something. I think I can speak for all of us when I say this. But when we're saying, hey, if we get our butts kicked this game, if we get destroyed or don't show up and don't win, we're not saying we're never going to beat Kirby Smart. Might be an Auburn, Alabama situation. Maybe you'll pull off 2 or 3. out of a decade, maybe. And
Yeah.
that's not where any of us want to be. None of us expect to. I mean, none of us expect to have what Saban has, where we're like, yeah, we're going to win 5 championships in 8 years. It's just not going to happen. But I think we all expect to be able to have the majority of wins against all of our rivals.
Yeah, the minimum expectations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like minimum expectations, we should be able to compete for the East at the bare minimum every year. And that means going through Georgia. So unless Kirby Smart gets offered by an NFL team, which I doubt, he's going to be at Georgia for the foreseeable future. So
even if he did, like, he's just such a he just, like, culturally, he is Georgia. He's a bad haircut, and he's a sleazeball who, like, goes out on the golf course at the country club and shakes hands. Like, he is Georgia football. He's in his element right now, and I don't see that changing even if he got offered an NFL job.
Like a pig and shit.
Yeah. Do we want to make our predictions here?
Yes. Predictions. So I'm confident going into this game. I said earlier, give us more like a 60-40, because on paper, Georgia should be favored. That's why I'm not upset with the spread, because they should be the favored team only because of their past success against Dan Mullen, the talent they have on their roster, and the fact that they're coming off a bye week. They had their loss against South Carolina 2 weeks ago, and that's probably one of their wake-up call moments. But I'm pretty confident in our ability to win because I believe our wide receivers are better than their defensive backs. I think Kyle Trask has been absolutely amazing for someone coming in off the bench to be able to play at the level he's doing. Like, I did not expect that. I genuinely did not. I was like, wow. I mean, like, because I didn't hate Felipe Franks, but I was like, well, I mean, he's the starter for a reason. That was my mentality, right? But it's like Trask just is a completely different type of quarterback, and it's something that we needed on this team. We needed that type of quarterback right now because we have enough talent everywhere else to do it. So I'm very confident that he's going to be able to move the ball against Georgia. I'm confident our defense is going to win the battles they need to. Grenard and Zuniga are going to sack Jake Fromm so much. Like, it's going to be like 7 years ago when Mark Sanchez got absolutely destroyed by the New England Patriots. Like, he's going to get harassed a lot, and I think we're going to win. And I think it's going to be surprising to some people. I think we're going to win 24-10.
That's a little bit of domination right there. Like it. I guess my turn. I think people are still sleeping on Georgia and Kirby Smart because of him having each year kind of a game where he just blows it and his conservative offense. I don't think he's an elite coach. I think he's shown already that he's not going to be at the Nick Saban level. Huge. That's huge for us. I was worried in year 2 and maybe even year 3. That was a legitimate concern, and it should have been for everybody else. If it wasn't, then you just had your head under a pillow.
Up your ass is the term you're looking for. I'm not going to be nice.
Yeah, basically that. You're a fucking moron if that's the case. No, but seriously, I mean, if you're doing that, you're just ignoring the obvious right there. But at this point, he's shown, in my mind, a lower ceiling overall, and probably a lower floor too. So, not a Saban coach, makes me happy. Still a very good coach. Georgia pays for recruiting rankings. They do. We don't pay the same amount. So they are more talented than us, but not as big of a gap as you might believe looking at the little class calculators. That said, they're still far more talented than us. They have far more depth than us. The depth is also a huge thing. We've had a lot of guys leave the program. They really haven't had that many people. So at the end of the day, I have Georgia playing a very good game. I think they're going to win this, as sad as I am to say. And if you ask me on other days, there might be a couple where I say Florida's going to win, but overall, I still have Georgia winning this. Similar to Hammer score in the opposite direction. I'm going to go 27-14 on a late touchdown by Georgia to pull away.
Okay. All right. I am uncomfortable with how confident I am going into this game. Because historically, it has not been good when I've been confident about the Gators going into this type of a big game. Just going back a few years, 2012 Georgia, 2012 Louisville in the Sugar Bowl, 2013 Miami, 2016 Tennessee, 2017 Michigan, 2018 Kentucky. I actually went to that game. It's not been great when I've been confident. But so far this season, games where I have been confident, Miami, the opener, it wasn't pretty, but we won. And Auburn, even though on this podcast I picked us to lose, by the time that game rolled around, I was feeling really good. I'm not going to lie. I didn't vocalize it because I didn't want to jinx it, but I was feeling really good. And we came out and we spanked those cheeks. So I'm going to roll with the trend here. The trend is this year that when I'm confident, we actually win the game. And I think that's the case here. I'm going to go 24-23 Florida. And I want it to be as devastating of a loss as possible. To me, it's better if this is a devastating 1-point win that just destroys them emotionally. That's better than if we were to blow them out here. And specifically, I want it to be a situation where they have the chance to win the game late. And Rodrigo Eaton shit, that stupid goggle-wearing fuck of a kicker, I want him to choke, and I want him to lose the game for them. I hate him more than any opposing player since Dalvin Cook. I don't know what it is about that guy. I just hate his stupid face. I want to punch it. I want to see him sad. I don't like him. So that's where I'm at. I'm at 24-23 Gators. Let's go. Chomp chomp.
I love it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I just want to say, would it be even more devastating if it comes down to a one-score game and then Kirby does some stupid, really conservative shit and then loses because of it too? Or would you rather just see Rodrigo just absolutely embarrass his family and his legacy for the?
I want to see him. I want to see him shank a 3-yard field goal.
Yes. Yeah.
3
I
yards.
want this. I want it to be. We need that 2006 cock. Which, by the way, 3 yards. 3 yards. That doesn't even make any sense.
He's standing in the end zone.
Believe it or not, that's a really hard kick to make.
That would. You know, I'd almost be impressed if he made it. But I want that 2006 cock block energy. I want that. That's what we need. If this is. I've seen some speculation. I've seen the talk, the chatter that, you know, maybe this is shaping up like 2006 for us. I don't really see that personally, but if this is it, like if that's what this year is, then this is the point. This is it's time to get that particular type of energy rolling.
I love it. I hope y'all can rub it in my face that I took Georgia and I took them by actually a double-digit win because I really want to be wrong there. I really want to look. And I'm the opposite. I mean, I want to blow them out by 60 points. I think that would be hilarious. And I think that would be much more devastating. But hell, any win by us this year would be devastating for them. So let's fucking go. We're going to beat them.
Says the guy who picked them to lose.
In your minds, yeah. Oh, I don't. I'm not confident like you. Yeah.
And what's stupid is I agree with your analysis all the way through your analysis. I'm just sitting here nodding along, like, no, that all makes sense.
No, you articulated it nicely. Like everything was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I totally agree. Still don't give a fuck that we're gonna win. So
yeah, fuck this guy. No shit. Look, I don't blame you.
God, I can't believe I've done this to myself. I've allowed myself to buy in emotionally. I can't. This is going to be tough. If we lose,
worst mistake a football fan can make right now.
Man, it's Jesus. If we lose this, we're going to have to dry my tears next week. It's going to be bad. You mentioned 2017 Michigan. This does kind of remind me of that and that kind of buy-in. I mean, that we basically rested our hopes and dreams on that one game, and then we shit the bed. And
we had Miguel Wayne.
Miguel Wayne with the big L.
Yeah, that was not fun.
Yeah. So anyway,
right, let's go. Change subject. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to maybe some other games, or are we going to go?
Yeah. What are some of the games you guys looking forward to?
This week, boy, it's kind of a dog shit schedule.
We have right over here. We have the college game day cruise coming a couple hours away from me to Memphis SMU.
That'd be a good game.
Yeah,
it's a good game. It's good. It's good.
I mean, SMU is looking pretty good with Sonny Dykes as their head coach. I'm kind of excited to see what they do.
Yeah. I'm the kind of person who I always am excited for the AAC football. I think they're a better conference top to bottom than the ACC this year.
Might be the most exciting conference out there too. Their games are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm really looking forward to is Appalachian State and South Carolina a couple weeks from now. That's gonna be
Jesus. Why would
be a fun game?
Oh my God! Why would they schedule that game late in the year?
Yeah, App State's winning that game 100%. I'm calling it right now.
Ray Tanner, that South Carolina athletic director.
That's next week. No, it's next week.
My God, what is that guy doing? Why would you do that? What a moron!
Yeah, I actually saw that. I was shocked because everybody was saying how hard their schedule was at the beginning of the year, and they had this huge beginning stretch, and they had like Alabama and Florida and Georgia and whoever else they had to play. I don't know, but it was just this ridiculous schedule. And then I looked at the end, and it finished off with Appalachian State and Clemson. And yeah, I was like, that's fucking stupid. You're opening up with a bunch of losses, and then you're going to finish with losses.
Yeah,
good job.
Let's predict what that line opens at. South Carolina, Appalachian State.
Oh, you said it's next week?
Yeah, it's next week.
Do South Carolina play? I'm going to look that up right now too. Do they play this week at all?
I'll find out. 1 second.
Is that like a neutral site deal, or is that at South Carolina?
It's at South Carolina. South Carolina faces against Vanderbilt on Saturday.
Okay.
So I think South Carolina's going to win. They'll beat Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I would say just because people are ridiculous, I'm gonna give the point spread to 4.5 points to South Carolina, even though I think App State's gonna destroy them.
Boy,
I think Vegas is just gonna say this is an SEC team at home. There's no way App State's gonna win. That's their mentality, you know.
Yeah.
But holy fuck! So there's a really realistic chance that South Carolina doesn't win a single game the rest of the year. I mean, they have Vanderbilt, which they should win. Then they have Appalachian State at Texas A&M and versus Clemson.
They're finishing with 3 losses. The last 3 games, they will lose all 3 of them.
Yeah,
I have no doubt. A&M's not very good, but Jimbo will win that game. I don't
A&M's
think
going to be really good next year.
I don't think that spread's going to be that low. I'm thinking probably 12 points or maybe more. They're a 15-point favorite over Vandy.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think South Carolina will be favored by. I'm going to call it 7.5.
Yeah.
See that, but yeah, they're not only gonna get covered, but they will lose that game probably substantially. It's the Muschamp effect. I have no faith in them, and they will. They actually. Oh, they have the bye week before Clemson too, so they have no bye week. They've played. Let's see, they've played Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, all back to back to back. They have Vanderbilt, and then they have Appalachian State, and then Texas A&M. So they're going to be right in the middle of this huge streak of games. Yeah, they're losing the last 3. It's going to be bad. What's their record right now? 3-5?
Yeah.
So 4-8. That's probably the bottom of what people expected from them, or near it. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not great. Which I mean, 2 weeks ago, coming off of that win over Georgia, everybody was talking about, wow, Will Muschamp, his job is safe. This is going good. They're looking good. But yeah, boy, just that loss to Tennessee last week is just crippling.
And there is no reason they should have lost to North Carolina to open the year either. They really fucked themselves there.
Yeah. The other big games this weekend, Utah and Washington. I think that'll be interesting. I think that's probably the 2 best teams in the Pac-12.
Yeah, it should be a fun game. I think Chris Peterson is just, a lot of people have him or have had him as this top 5 coach in the league or just in the country. And I think he's showing he's not. But he's still a good coach. So, I mean, he always has a team that's going to compete at a pretty high level.
I wouldn't necessarily call him a top 5 coach in the country, but he's pretty close, I think. I mean, in the grand scheme, what he's built there at Washington, as relatively quickly as he's built it, I think he's been there 5-6 years now. I think it's pretty impressive.
Is he doing the Dabo method out there?
But I mean, like they're not going to be a playoff contender every year, but and so this is a down year, but I think they're still pretty good.
I'm super high on Chris Peterson. I'm gonna tell you why. So Chris Peterson has a 52-24 record at Washington. He's got 3 years in a row where he's won 10 plus games for them, and he did go to the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to go all the way back to 2000, which is the last time Washington won 10 games prior to Chris Peterson being their coach.
Yeah.
Did he go to the playoffs?
Yeah, he went to the playoffs. He lost against Alabama. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He lost the Peach Bowl, I believe, which is a college football playoff game, or it was the Fiesta Bowl maybe against Alabama one of those years.
Maybe my view of him's warped. I haven't watched enough Pac-10, I guess, or Pac-12 or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the dude has a 144-36 record as a head coach. Like
the Pac-12 has sort of like quietly taken a turn towards being more of a like defensively coached league than in like what our historical perception of it has been, which is interesting to me because it doesn't really fit. I mean, it doesn't fit with what it's been historically, but like if you go through that league, there's only 2 or 3 teams that are really running like a air raid, high tempo type of offense at this point. It's almost all defensive guys now, or guys like Peterson, who I don't know, is he a defensive guy by his background?
No, he's an offensive guy.
Yeah, so it's like, but that's his kind of team is like win with defense and like relatively conservative type of play calling.
Yeah, I mean this is a down year for them. But like, I mean, think about like he's a great coach. Like his recruiting at Washington, like in terms of compared to like what we would expect maybe like at Georgia or at Florida or like a top school, like he's averaging about 15th in rankings for recruiting. But before he was there, they were averaging like in the 30s to almost the 40s. Like he's won a ton of games. I mean, I don't know. Like I feel like Chris Peterson, Washington is not one of those schools where you're like. You don't leave. You would leave it for something better, and I can see him realistically getting a top school offer in the next couple of years. I mean, if he continues to perform at a high level,
he's already gotten those though. You think he would take one? I mean, didn't he get the USC offer and turn it down?
Yeah, but I think he's a Cal guy. I'm sure if Cal was like a better school, he probably would have taken it. But I think. He probably would have his eyes on a school like Michigan or Notre Dame. Like I'm talking about like the next tier of schools. Because right now, the way things are, Washington right now is a better job than USC right now. Now, when Urban Meyer goes to USC, it's going to be a little bit different. But USC's been kind of shit for the last 10 years, to be honest.
And I think I heard you say when there. If you didn't, when Urban Meyer goes, but yes,
I said when. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
I also thought you said he was a cow guy, as in like cow pastures, and I was trying to figure out.
No. California.
What you were getting at by like, is he an agriculture school guy? He wants to go to Mississippi State or something? I mean,
no. He went to UC Davis.
You know a lot about Chris Peterson, so you like him, huh?
Yeah, he was one of the guys that I wanted us to target initially before we went after Dan Mullen.
Think there was any chance of him coming over though? I just always had him written off as a West Coast, pretty much guaranteed.
He's a Midwest West Coast guy, so I
can see what you're saying though with Notre Dame, Michigan. I mean, those are hard jobs to turn down, especially if he's looking to take it to the next level where he's competing for championships, because that might be hard at Washington.
Yeah, like
at least
he's a solid coach. I think Washington is a like tier 3, borderline tier 2 type job. Like. It was like Boise State, would it be like a tier 4? Even though they were winning all the time, you're never going to win a championship with Boise State ever, right? So I think if he got the opportunity to go to like Michigan, like if Harbaugh leaves and they want to go after him, like I would be surprised if he turned it down, and I'd be surprised if they didn't go after him or at least try to see if he had interest, because he's probably been the most consistent coach in the Pac-12 since he started.
I have one last coach that I want to discuss, just one last team, Gus Malzahn. Auburn. What the fuck? Did anybody see? Yeah, that's all. That's literally that. Every time he comes up, that's my thought. Like the whole crowd noise thing, where he just wasn't ready for the swamp. Fucking idiot. But anyways, this is a different fucking idiot moment. did anybody see where Joey Gatewood, the quarterback, was about to come out in the field? Like he put on his helmet to come out. And I don't even know the circumstances. Maybe Bo Nix had a bad play or it looked like he had to come out. And Gatewood's just ready to roll on out there. And Malzahn basically punches him in the chest and says, "No, get your ass back on the sideline."
I did not.
Guess what happened? Gatewood transferred right afterwards, or announced he's going to transfer. So, by the way, Gatewood's in the portal. Yeah, he did that. Look at the clip. It was shocking to me. I mean, the kid, I don't know what made the kid think that he was ready to come out onto the field, but he thought he was going out there. And Malzahn literally put like if you're in a car and you get in an accident and you're trying to protect the person to your right and keep them from like falling forward, he pulled that move on Gatewood like no, and he arm blocked him, told him to get back on the sideline. National TV moment, and probably really embarrassing on top of being frustrating for Gatewood because Bo Nix is sucking ass and he doesn't get a chance. So stupid ass move right there. Stupid ass move not prepping for loud noise. Stupid ass move with Cam or whatever the fuck that running back was, who Malzahn thought he had only 4 games, but he had played in the 5th game on a special teams play, and he basically stole the kid's red shirt away. Just a bunch of stupid shit. And Malzahn is a high school coach, and he'll never be anything more.
Yep. It's funny, on his Wikipedia page it says, Arthur Gustavo Malzahn III is the worst head football coach for Auburn Tigers.
Arthur Gustavo.
Can we talk about is that real? Is that actually his name?
Yeah, I think so.
Right. Arthur Gustavo.
Oh my god.
But I went and looked at the edit. So this was edited last week when Auburn lost to LSU, and Wikipedia has not updated it yet.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's so good. It's just he just time and again he does this shit. The only thing that makes sense as to why he's still around there, first of all, that stupid ass buyout they did. I don't even know why they set that up for him. The $35 million or whatever this shit was. The dumbest contract in sports outside of Willie Taggart's contract. But I think the only reason he's around right now is because of Bo Nix. I'm pretty sure that the Auburn high brass are basically saying, "You're going to play our dude Bo Nix. He's a legacy. You play him. We'll make sure you stay around." If he pulled Nix, he might get fired right afterwards. I don't know if people are going to support him, but they might not support him anyways, honestly. I think he's on the way down. He'll lose to Alabama this year. Who do they have left? Georgia?
Auburn? They have Georgia,
While I would love to see them beat Georgia, I don't believe in Malzahn enough to see that happen. He's just going to lose that game in my mind. Yeah,
the only thing that I would say in opposition to that is that he sort of has that magic effect where when he's cornered, he becomes like a trapped animal and
and
figures out a way to win games that he shouldn't in order to keep himself on an upward coaching trajectory.
I wouldn't expect anything less of a guy named Arthur Gustavo.
Yes, yeah.
Is that his real name?
God, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's his real name.
Arthur.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was the edit or not, but that's great. I love that. That's almost as good as Tathan. That's my thought. He just never ceases to disappoint me, and my expectations for him are already rock bottom. But I mean, yeah, you could be right. He does pull out some random surprises out of hats too. So.
What do we expect from Florida State and Miami this weekend? That sadness bowl.
Complete shit show.
Yeah,
that's what I expect.
Awful game. What time is that game? Is that during ours? Is that noon? Probably during ours.
I'll tell you right now. It's at 3:30. Yeah.
I mean, even if it wasn't, I'd almost want to not watch because it's just an embarrassment. And I want to see them embarrass each other, but still, it makes me sad to watch.
Like either way, we don't win. If Miami wins, okay, cool. Then Taggart's probably gone, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if Florida State wins, then and they blow out Miami or some shit, then the narrative is going to be, oh wait, Taggart's actually really good, and maybe we actually have a chance against Florida. We're going to have to deal with all that bullshit for the next couple weeks. It's just annoying.
Let me stop that right there.
It'll just be annoying.
I want that.
It'll just be annoying.
It'll
just be annoying.
Yeah. Well, okay. So on the subreddit, I think somebody had a post to this effect, and the top comment was basically saying that we should be rooting for for Miami to keep Florida State down, and that's some bullshit to me. I don't see how that is even a thought or a thought process. We know what Taggart is. We know it already. He has shown it. He is what he is. So the longer he stays around, the better. Beating Miami keeps him around. Losing to Miami, he's probably gone at the end of the year, and he's guaranteed gone by next year. I'm hoping he finds a way to stay around a third, and I don't know. I really can't say a fourth year, but just that third year. I want that third year. It's all we can really hope for right now. And Manny Diaz is he's proving to be kind of ugly, but again, it's the first season,
right?
So and they had a bad year last year too. So.
Yeah, it just doesn't tell us shit. I think people are jumping to conclusions way too fast with him, and with how recruiting's going right now, I think just a lot of teams are really struggling with the bump classes. And the whole early signing day thing, I really do think that's becoming a thing where it's just a little tougher to break into that top tier. And Miami's obviously never going to be there, but it's limiting you by just maybe a couple players, and that's making an effect. So I think people are a little too down on Diaz's potential just because it's his first year. So them losing would be very nice. If they win, I think that could catapult Miami into being, having something to build around. And honestly, there are one or two players that I would like to steal from them for this class and next class.
I think he's getting too much shit, Dan Diaz is, because considering he's had to rotate multiple quarterbacks in throughout the season.
I just don't understand the hate. Yeah, I think
There's
people
no consistency at the quarterback position.
Just people are buying too much into Big Three Twitter right now. Big Three Twitter is about trash talk. It's about talking immediate shit, and I think some people are starting to kind of view that as the truth and reality, and that's just that is you cannot be reactionary with a first-year head coach.
Yeah, not just a first year at that program, but a first-year coach, head coach in general.
Exactly. There's multiple variables there, but it's just he hasn't shown anything to make you think, oh, well, this guy is a disorganized piece of shit mess like Willie Taggart did his first year. He just hasn't shown that. Yeah,
I completely agree. And that's why it's so difficult for me to determine what is going to happen in this game. Like, this time last week, I would have taken Florida State for sure. But it's just the more I think about it, the more I think Diaz has the higher ceiling as far as an on-field coach. He's a better on-field coach. He's a more talented on-field coach. He might not be better yet. I don't know. It's so difficult for me to know who is going to fuck this game up worse. I can't even wrap my mind around it.
Miami's not going to be able to move the ball at all. They haven't all year. Florida State, the only way they're surviving is off of moving the ball. A couple teams that caught off, they surprised with the Kendall Briles offense. I think some teams have caught up to that. They have Cam Akers, who, out of all three Florida teams, might be the most talented player on offense. I'm thinking through. I think he's the most talented player offensively out of all three of the Florida teams, and they're just relying on him entirely right now. And so Manny Diaz, great defensive coordinator. He could drop a game plan and just shut that down completely. We just don't know what this Briles offense does against an elite defensive opponent. And while Miami's not there, they're closer to it than Florida State's played outside of Clemson.
They certainly have that potential. They have the coach, and they're close to having the talent to do that.
I mean, Clemson would have shut them out 60-0 if they wanted to.
Right.
It's just So I mean, that's just I think Miami wins this game. The more I think about it, and I want Florida State to win. So, I want Miami to lose. Put it that way. Miami's going to win. I want them to lose.
Yeah, I've been talking myself into that same side. Okay, well, so something we had talked about, we've been discussing on the subreddit and on Discord this week is sort of the big national story in college football, which is the NCAA deciding or making a statement that they're going to allow players to profit off of their name, image, and likeness. And that's fuzzy right now exactly what that legislation is going to look like from them. But that has led to a lot of debate about whether or not that is a good thing. And Hammer has some strong thoughts on that. and I would like him to take the floor and posit his position on this.
Well, I mean, I think that you should be able to profit off your name, image, and likeness. Like, that's a no-brainer to me. And I always thought that that was stupid that the NCAA would try to, control that, right? I'm not a fan, though, of them being able to use the schools to do so. And my reasoning behind that is not because I don't want these players to be able to make money off themselves. That's not it. It's that the college football world already has a competitive disadvantage, right? There's certain schools that are going above and beyond to make sure they get the top guys versus schools that don't, right? But there's also schools that have a lot more power and a lot more public image, I guess almost like persona than other schools would, right? Take Oregon, for example. The reason why I bring Oregon up is because Oregon obviously has a big deal with Nike. The founder of Nike went to Oregon. They have brand new uniforms. They get all this cool shit. He paid for their new facilities. Like, what stops Nike from saying, hey, if you want an endorsement deal, you have to sign with Oregon? What stops, Adidas from saying, if you want an endorsement deal with us, then you have to sign with Alabama? And that's my concern, is that it's no longer going to be about players profiting off themselves. It's going to be going to schools specifically designed to maximize that profit, which is then going to be unfair to everyone else. And that's what I'm not a fan of.
Isn't that already happening?
How so?
Do you think it's not? I mean, in basketball, it clearly is, with the whole shoe deal thing and everything. I mean, those shoe companies are clearly buying players based on what schools they go to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that the schools are buying the players. That's one thing, but also the NBA has like a one and done rule, right? We're talking about, let's say, if I'm a high school athlete and I'm trying to decide between Oregon and Florida and Ohio State, right? Those are my top three schools. All three coaches are equally recruiting me, but Oregon has exclusive endorsement deals with Nike. So when I sign with Oregon, I can then get more money off my likeness with Nike, whereas I can't do that with Alabama or Georgia or Florida. And that's where I'm looking at corporations are going to get involved at a high level because they want to use these guys for commercials. They want to use them for advertising. It's essentially going to be the NFL without the NFL logo. Does that make sense?
It might be. I think it bears mentioning that we don't exactly know what this this legislation, what the details are going to be. So there may be some sort of language in there that would prevent that exact situation that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's just my concern. Like, I am not against someone saying, "Hey, I want to make money off. I want to be able to sign autographs." Right? I'm not against that. I just don't. I don't feel comfortable with paying or letting 18 and 19-year-old kids who are playing for a college voluntarily making potentially, tons of money based off of like endorsement deals and commercials and all that shit. I'm just not super comfortable with that. Maybe I will be in a couple of years. I don't know. But I've always been under the belief that if you're getting a full ride scholarship, which on average in the United States of America equals to about $45,000 a year, that's a lot of money that you're not having to pay to go to college, especially when 90% of college graduates are in debt. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's we want our cake and eat it too mentality.
I guess as a counterpoint to the concern about the talent being siloed based on affiliations between universities and companies like Oregon and Nike. Nike has always been of the belief that everybody's money is just as green, no matter where it's coming from. And so I don't see that exact situation playing out that way. I think that they would advertise by having student athletes. If it came to pass that they were signing student athletes to endorsement deals, I think that they would have them from all over the country, because you want the face on your product to be someone that's going to do numbers in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or in Charlotte, North Carolina, just as much as in the Pacific Northwest. And you do that by, giving those deals to players around the country. So I don't expect that, that exact concern that you had. I don't think that's going to be a huge deal. And while I agree that generally a scholarship is pretty good compensation for most student athletes, for 99%, I think that student athletes should have that ability if they are talented enough and if they are playing a sport where people would want to advertise with their name or their likeness. Get that money. Just because a scholarship is good enough doesn't mean that should also be the ceiling.
Well, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. Like I just feel like there's this is like one side of a pay for player, the whole likeness deal. Because you remember back when Northwestern, they wanted to be unionized and they wanted to make a salary, and other players have mentioned in the past they should get percentages of the total profits and that kind of stuff. I'm not cool with that. I'm cool with making money off yourself, right? If you're a good enough player, if Chase Young wanted to go make a commercial in Ohio, go do that, buddy. You're probably the best player in college football right now. That's something that's cool. I'm cool with that. I don't know if I'm necessarily cool with him using Ohio State to do so. Does that make sense? It's almost like, hi, I'm Chase Young, I'm a football player, versus, hi, I'm Chase Young, defensive end of Ohio State. Does that make sense? I almost feel like there should be some type of school separation, because otherwise the top schools like Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Ohio State, Michigan will get all of the good players versus the majority of them. Does that make sense? But yeah, I'm not a fan of salaries and the concepts of paying them I think one person had an article on how every college football player should make $2 million a season. I'm no, that's
right. Yeah,
no.
that's
You're in college and no one's forcing you to play this sport. No one's forcing you to play the sport. You can go join a college and enroll and get in student debt like most of America. You have more than freedom to do that. Yes, you have the ability to play the sport, but you're not required to do so, and that's why I'm not a fan of that part. I'm cool with the likeness and image and everything. I think that's something that should have been done a long time ago, because it's that's them. As long as they're making money off themselves, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think the NCAA, it's they're gonna have to dissociate it. It's listen, you can make money off yourselves, you just can't associate the school you play for when you do it. Does that make sense?
I could see that. Yeah. Zlat, do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm split in some ways. I have no issue with them making money off their likeness. I think that's the American way. I think that they are the main reason that there is so much money in college football. There's a ton of money going into these schools. There's a ton of money going into the NCAA pockets, and that's based off of football. It's not any other sport. It's football, and these players, their talents are earning that. Do I think that they should be getting paid $2 million a pop or whatever? No, I think that's fucking stupid and ridiculous. I don't think they should be paid salaries necessarily. But this whole likeness thing is almost the perfect answer for me. The issues I have, I don't think it's going to be this thing where it's going to make the gap that much bigger. I think some people are concerned that the Alabamas and Georgias are just going to have this huge step forward because they're willing to spend money, and oh wait, they can spend more money now. I don't think they could spend more money. I think they have what money they have.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be a couple of schools who are able to exploit this in a great way for themselves, who might come up with really good ideas on how to deal with this. And I don't have anything off the top of my head, but
it's terrible. It's terrible timing for Oklahoma State that T. Boone Pickens just died, because this would be, if you had that type of a billionaire booster and you were a mid-tier type of P5 team like that, this would be the opportunity that you've been waiting for.
Right. And honestly, I'm scared about UCF even. I can't remember where I've said this before, but this is an opportunity for a school like that, maybe not UCF exactly, but maybe a mid-tier P5 team, to come up with to have some extra money that they normally wouldn't have used because they may have towed the line a little more carefully. And maybe they'll use their money now. Maybe they'll be ingenuitive and find some loopholes. Not even loopholes, but just find ways to do it to be the first at something where other schools don't think of it, like Miami did with the turnover chain. And there are things people do that just get kids really excited. I mean, yeah, we can make fun of it, but I mean, it's a big deal, and a lot of teams do that now to be the first at something. And I think there are going to be a couple of programs that find a way to do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's my yeah. I know, ridiculous. But okay. I'm not an ingenuitive person enough to really think of many more examples. But just being the first, being original, and there are probably ways they can exploit it. My biggest concern is a little bit with these corporations stepping in and how they're going to handle it. I think they're already a big part of the game, like I'd mentioned earlier, but they're a lot bigger in basketball right now, and this is opening it up to make football a little closer to what that basketball thing is. And right now the FBI is all involved. It's dirty as shit. I'm a little concerned about recruiting websites and recruiting people, rankers, these 7-on-7 coaches. How do they factor in? Are you getting paid on these endorsements based on where you're ranked? Being ranked the 7th overall player versus the 27th overall player could be a big deal. Being ranked top 30 versus top 100 is a big deal. So kids who are going to these camps, who are doing what they need to do, or the school's doing what they need to do to get these kids ranked higher, that's going to be a big deal right there. So I think that in what's already a dirty industry with recruiting and how the rankings are done, I think that could possibly get a little bit worse too, making them less reliable, and maybe exploiting kids even more. So there's that risk involved too for the kids, which is probably the bigger deal.
Well, that's my concern too. Like,
yeah, I was just gonna say, I think I've seen a lot of reactions that this is going to ruin college football, or that this is going to be a massive change in the way that things are done. And I guess in some ways it might be a massive change in the way that things are done. But it's like, at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be that different, because like a lot of this stuff these are like issues at the margin. The idea of recruiting kickbacks, or how involved Nike and Under Armour and Adidas are going to be. All of that, those are marginal issues, when in reality it's already such a like clearly delineated landscape of the haves and the have-nots. Like the average SEC team or Big Ten team, they're making like $40 million a year off of television rights deals at this point. $40-50 million a year, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the G5 teams, I think the AAC, I think their payout per team is like $6 or $7 million from their media rights deals. It's already just like, it's already so disparate as far as the money that's coming into these schools. And you see that in the results on the field. There's a reason why the P5 teams are the ones that are winning championships and are going to the playoffs every year. And there's a reason why a handful of those teams are, the ones that are doing those things every year. It's because those are the programs with money, and those are the programs that are already spending money on the talent. And I don't think that this changes that. So I don't think it really changes a whole lot in how the sport is going to operate.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a massive change. My concern, I said before, is like, I have an issue with players making money. I have an issue with corporations exploiting these players. Because like right now, Nike and Coke and Pepsi and all this shit, they all have deals with schools or the conferences, right? But it comes down to like the shady shit of getting like deals with players, if that even gets to the point, if the NCAA even allows it. Like we have no idea what the NCAA is actually going to do. All we know is that they're going to allow you to be able to profit off likeness in some capacity. My just biggest concern is that it's going to be that way. But I think it makes sense. Like players should be allowed to make money off themselves. I just don't think they should be allowed to associate the school with it, essentially, because I feel like that would make it fair overall. Like you're making money off yourself, not this brand that represents you.
Yeah.
Yep, I'd fully agree with that. Yeah, that's my biggest issue as well. And maybe in a slightly different sense of how they're being exploited. But I am worried that will. I know it will happen, and it already does to an extent. Some players get exploited; they make horrible decisions based off of that. This opens it up for more of that. So it's a concern. It's and I think the players deserve to earn their money and to get their dues, and the NCAA is just going to have to find a way to limit certain things in ways that it can, and hopefully make it to where the players aren't getting fucked, and that it's not just the NCAA wants to keep all the money type deal as well. A nice in between. So those are my biggest thoughts there. A lot left to be done in that. A lot of decisions to be made, and tons of those rules to be
Agreed.
written. Yep.
Well, gentlemen, it has been a delight debating the issues with you.
Indeed.
Are you mocking me?
A little bit.
You son of a bitch.
Hey, I didn't pick fucking Georgia to beat us, so fuck that.
Yeah.
Y'all are, you're mocking the wrong person right now. Come at me.
I'll mock everybody. I can mock everyone but Gary P. I can't do that.
No one can.
Pretty old.
If you mock him too hard, he might break his hip. Which, by the way, thoughts and prayers with former President Jimmy Carter. Suffered a broken hip last week. Survive.
On those peanuts.
Survive.
Yeah, that's tough.
I think that's it. I think we're gonna wrap it up. Anything else that we want to say before this cocktail party weekend?
Yes, I have one more thing.
Okay.
Arthur Gostovo Mazan III.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic.
I can't believe that's his name.
I really hope that, and I could see us winning. I really hope the team proves me wrong and shuts me up, and I get mocked relentlessly for the rest of the season based off of that pick. That is my biggest desire right now.
I have something legitimate I actually want to say now. I cannot wait for this game. Like I said, it's my number one game. I pencil in every year. Super excited for it. I think we're going to win. I think Zlat is completely wrong, and I can't wait to shit on him next week on the pod.
Yeah, I'm pretty much always right, though, so we'll see.
All right. Well, there you have it. I guess my thing would be, if you're going to Jacksonville this weekend, be careful. Do not drink and drive. Be safe. Enjoy your weekend responsibly, and have a great time.
Stay out of prison if you can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just a general in life thing every day anyway. But okay. Rate, review it, subscribe, drop us a like, drop us a comment. All of those things. Do it all.
Yeah, I like feedback. I would like to get as much feedback as we can. So
Yes.
please definitely leave us feedback. Like, constructive feedback is good. So definitely let us know.
All right. Thanks for listening. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Cease from quarreling and fighting, evil speaking and backbiting. All these things take no delight in when we're met together. Let a union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts be joined as one. We'll end the day as we've begun. We'll end it all in pleasure. Whack for all, to a light, oh, whack for